This segment of the Bass Tour Anglers podcast is brought to you in part by Top Tier Tackle. With over 30 years of experience in the rod building industry, look for Top Tier's XT, Affinity, and Valor series this fall, wherever fine tackle is sold. Hello everybody, welcome to our Winner's Circle segment. Our guest is just finishing his third professional season. He's cashed a check in 33 out of 40 career pro tournaments, 11 top 10 finishes, that's 11 in 40 events, 3 Pro Tour wins. He's the winner of the 2017 Bassmaster College Southern Conference Regional, and he's the winner of the 2020 Toyota Bassmaster Texas Fest, the final stop on the Elite Series Tour this year. Not only did he take home a blue trophy, but he also earned a 100-pound belt as he weighed in 104 pounds, 12 ounces. How many messages have you had on your phone? Is it blowing up? Will you ever be able to answer all of them?
That is a very good question. I promise you I am going to try to answer every single one of them. I am more of a phone call person. That does sound old school, but I love talking on the phone a lot more than I do love texting. But Monday morning, I had 452 text messages. That was so. It's gonna take me a minute, and that was just text messages, the Facebook messages and Instagram, and I'm slowly getting there.
Well, I'm guilty of that. I apologize, but you know, when you're the big name in the sport, this comes with the territory.
Hey, if people are texting you, you're doing something right. So no complaints.
That is for sure. I'm trying to get a handle on what your last 2 months have been like. It looks to me like 7 out of 8 weeks continuous tournament fishing. It started with a nice win there at that Eastern Open, and then Guntersville, Sandy Cooper, Chickamauga. How come you didn't fish the week of the 19th?
That's a good question. You know, I was on the road for 4 weeks, and I actually got to come home for like 3 to 4 days just to kind of settle in, relax, pack all my stuff up, and then get back on the road to I think it was Cherokee at that point.
Cherokee,
so it was 4 weeks on the road, 3 or 4 days at home, and then 2 weeks back on the road. So it's been a good bit of traveling so far in the fall.
Well, and it's not like these were bad tournaments for you. You had a couple of top tens, a couple of wins along the way. That wasn't a bad stretch.
No, it really wasn't too bad of a stretch. But to tell you the truth, the one that you remember the most, it was Guntersville. It was the one because it still fires you up a little bit because I had a good day one, had 14 pounds, and ended up day two, I caught one right away, and then I ended up losing a 4-pounder and then missing a couple fish. And I only weighed in 2 fish that second day of the tournament and missed the top 40 cut by like 2 pounds. And, I mean, I lost probably 7 keeper fish. And that's kind of where I would have been in really good contention for AOY if I would have caught those other 3 fish that one day. But, hey, everything happens for a reason. You can't complain. That is fall fishing. You have to execute. You usually don't catch a lot of fish in the fall. And so when you get a bite, you got to put them in the boat.
You know, I love that. I mean, that's spoken like a true champion. This stretch of all these successful events, and the one he remembers is the one that wasn't that he didn't do well in. That's I guess that's what a heart of a champion is all about. Did you find in that stretch that you felt like your fishing was getting more and more dialed in as you went? Because it could be a real grind, or it could be something that the momentum builds. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like the momentum definitely carried. Starting at Hartwell, really built that fall momentum. Was just, you always got to have confidence in yourself. You have to realize that you're going to catch them at some point through the day. And as a professional fisherman, we all can find fish, we can catch fish, but to keep your mind in it for 8 hours all day long, every single day, that's the hardest thing. And so to realize that and say, all right, I'm going to mentally stay in the game for 8 hours every single day. Once you kind of build that confidence and that momentum, I just carried it through the rest of the year. And it happened a lot, even at Santee on day 3 at 225, I had 1 fish and I was doing at 320. And from 225 to 307, I managed to catch 5 fish, catch 14 pounds, and ended up tying for 10th place in that tournament where I would have completely fell back into the 30s or whatnot. So mentally staying in it, for the entire fall season because everybody's ready for deer hunting. They're ready for duck season. They're talking about, their deer leases and stuff like that. Well, I didn't have deer hunting on my mind so far in the fall. I was focused on fall fishing. Hunting's what I do for fun. Fishing's what I do for a living. So you had to stay in it.
So many of these guys that I've seen on YouTube and I've talked to have talked about just like coming unraveled during that 8 week stretch because it's so easy on the water if things aren't going well to start doubting yourself and you just go down that deep hole. But you're able to keep your spirits up, and that's why we're talking today. It seems like everybody talked about how hard these events were. Lake Fork was a brutal event for a lot of the people, but you won that event by 29 pounds. I think you could have stopped after day 3 and still won by 7 pounds. What happened there?
I was truly blessed with 3 amazing days of fishing the first 3 days. I mean, everything went right. Honestly, after practice, I could catch some fish. I actually called Emily on day 2. I said, babe, I feel pretty good about it. And I never call her and tell her anything. I said, I can catch fish. That's the weird thing about it. But the biggest one I caught in practice was 3.5 pounds. I never caught big fish in practice. I lost one good one on day 1 of practice. It was like a 6-pounder. And so I was like, there is good fish out here, but I did not know the potential of what really lived out there until I started fishing it hard. Mainly in practice, I just tried to find the areas where the fish were at, where the bait was at, and wait and kind of X out all of the dead water. That way I wasn't fishing that, and then really spend majority of my time in areas that had the fish and just kind of had to keep the foot on the gas. I mean, with those guys behind me, I truly felt like there was no such thing as a lead. That I had to catch every fish possible. Even at 25 pounds, I was like, nope. I still couldn't win it. I mean, Keith Combs, Lee Livesey, Brad Watley, Stetson Blaylock, those guys, I mean, Lake Fork's their home. And 40 pounds lives in that lake, so we weren't going to stop catching them.
Are you looking for a bass rod that won't break your bank? Introducing the XT series from Top Tier Tackle. Proprietary carbon nano blank, grade A full cork handle and foregrip, top performance stainless steel, tangle-free guides, lightweight and durable, and a 1-year limited warranty. Visit their website at www.t3rods.com. We're talking to Patrick Walters. He is the Lake Fork Elite Series champion, and so Patrick, let's talk about pre-fish. As you're driving to Lake Fork, what are you imagining? What are your thoughts? How do you expect the lake to set up?
I actually fished the week prior. I fished the Eastern Open on Cherokee Lake, and I had the tournament ended on Saturday because I actually made the top 10 cut and had to drive all night to Lake Fork, and I didn't get there till Sunday morning. And then I had about a half a day of rigging rods, and practice started on Monday. And so I had my jerk baits already tied on. But 6 months prior, when they announced the tournament was going to be in the fall in Lake Fork, I even was talking with Lee Livesey. I said, you know what, I'm going to fish that standing timber the whole tournament. I'm going to really, because I thought I was already in the Classic at that point. I was going to fish for rogue, big, isolated fish and standing timber. And when I started fishing the timber in practice, I was pretty surprised that there wasn't just a single big fish. It was a lot of fish that were in that timber.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. What did you find there in pre-fish? Was this timber, was it in high spots or was it on flats? Because it's amazing what you're able to see as a viewer. That Bass Live is an incredible service that you're able to watch guys fish. So we could see what you were fishing, but we couldn't see what was below it. Were those high spots or were they flats or what were they?
It was really a mixture of everything. Depth didn't matter at all. I caught some over 40 and I caught some in shallow as 2. Some of them were like pockets of timber, and a lot of times it would be a point of timber, and it would be like the outside tree, the furthest tree on the outside where the bait was kind of washing in. Or if it was a creek that fed into the back of a pocket where it was just a little narrow cut, there'd be one tree in the middle of that ditch, and they would be sitting on the tallest tree in there. And a lot of times if it would be out in the middle of nowhere, it'd be like, say, 35, 40 foot everywhere around. It'd be off of the break of a main point. Every tree out there would be 10 feet from the surface, but there'd be one tree that'd be like 3 feet from the surface, and that'd be the tree they'd be sitting on. So depth really didn't matter. It was just a mixture of everything, but just finding those right little key spots.
But so those fish were suspended in deep water in the tops of those trees.
Absolutely. They had to be shallower and about 10 foot to catch them.
Wow, that's amazing. So on day one, Rick Clunn really clobbered these fish. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but man, he came in with almost 30 pounds, and it was like, wow, Rick Clunn, this is an amazing deal. And there were a few good bags. You had a pretty good bag. I'm wondering, did you have your fish dialed in after day one, or is this something that was going to continue to evolve for you?
No, at day one, I was pretty ecstatic with 25 pounds. I started at one creek, and my goal was 15 to 17 pounds, and I pulled in there, and at 11 o'clock, I had 18 pounds, and I was like, man, I was talking to my marshal. I said, we're doing pretty good. I said, I got one more big fish area. We'll go try it and see what happens. And I pulled in there at like 11:30 and culled everything out to get to 25 pounds. And I was ecstatic with that. I was like, man, 25 pounds, that's way better than I thought. And I wasn't surprised that Rick caught him. I mean, Clunn is an absolute legend of the sport. He catches them everywhere we go. He really is amazing to do what he does and what all he has accomplished. And I was thinking I was going to catch 15 to 17 pounds, I thought, for the remainder of the term. I mean, I really felt dialed in that because I wasn't burning my water. I wasn't really fishing one area. And I was just going to kind of try to outlast him a little bit. I didn't know what he was fishing or what he was doing. So I was hoping I could have a little more longevity than him. And then when we went out the second day and backed up to 26 pounds, I knew old Rick was going to be in trouble.
Yeah, that's what got everybody's attention because a lot of those guys first day didn't have it the rest of the week, at least that kind of quality fish. All right, so by now everyone knows you're fishing the jerkbait, and of course when you're on Bass Live, there are no secrets. You can't hide anything. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody have as many jerk baits tied on as you had tied on. I mean, I have a jerk bait. It's on my deck. I'm ready to throw it, but you had a bunch of them. Tell us about each one and why each one was important.
I've never had that many jerk baits tied on in a tournament as well either. That was definitely a first. Usually I have one, if at best two in a tournament. But what it was is I had 3 with 12-pound fluorocarbon and 3 with Suffix Advanced 14-pound fluorocarbon, 14. And so what I was doing, I had a deep one, a shallow one, and then I would kind of dictate. One would be I'd throw like an opaque, more of a shad white color in the mornings for low light conditions. That way they could really see it. And then as the sun got up, I'd go more of a shiny, transparent color. And if it got real clear, that's when I'd lean on that transparent. And if I was fishing open water, I would try to get the bait a little bit deeper. I'd go to the 12-pound line. And if I was fishing thick cover where it was heavier wood, I was really going in there, that's when I'd lean on the 14. So it really kind of depended on the structure I was fishing, what those fish were doing, and that's when I would switch line and baits.
Another thing that really impressed me about watching you fish, and I'm telling you, this is just amazing for the pro fishing fan. It's like being in a car with a NASCAR driver. We don't get to do that too often, but to be able to watch what you were doing, it was clear that you were using your electronics with these fish. Tell us about that, because you would vary your retrieve based upon what you were seeing in your electronics, right?
It's really a game of cat and mouse. It's almost like when you see a cat, and you're playing with it like a little laser and you're just trying to get it fired up. It's the same thing with those fish. I could tell how those fish were reacting to certain baits. And so I just kind of changed my cadence to see what would fire them up. Sometimes they wanted a constant, sometimes they wanted it fast, sometimes they wanted it slow. And so I've always said my philosophy is you got to let the fish do the talking. And when that fish bites, it's basically him saying you're doing something right. And so I would just change it up as much as possible, change the colors until everything kind of fell into place.
Now, there were a couple times that I saw that you actually stopped that bait and parked it right next to a fish. In the old days, we old guys we'd call that soaking it, because you pull it down there, you leave it down there long enough, they can't stand it in their area, they got to eat it. That happened a few times for you, right?
Absolutely. It was frustrating sometimes because, I'd throw it in there and I'd bring it off that stump and they would follow it for 30 feet at times. And then I'd just stop it and they would just sit there and, it would look at it. They were so close to it. And so then I'd just leave it, or I'd twitch it one time and see what would happen. And then I'd twitch it 2 times. And a lot of times if you twitched it 2 times, they were like, nah, and just roll out. It was very weird how they acted, but a lot of times you did have to soak it. That 9-pounder I caught actually on day 3, he bet it on the pause. I paused it, and I was like, just waiting on it. And I'm like, I don't know if he's got it. And all of a sudden that line just, took off. And then I was like, oh, I better set a hook on her, you know? So you did have to really change it up to see what those fish wanted. But the soak did work.
I think this is the first time I've ever seen somebody combine the use of electronics with power fishing. I know it's done sometimes like that, but to see the way you use your electronics with that rip bait, is that something that you've been doing for a long time, or is that something that is kind of evolving as we talk?
It's definitely been evolving throughout the year. Started a little bit at the beginning of the year, been playing with it at different times, and actually was doing the same exact thing at Cherokee. I was actually fishing brush piles and laydowns instead of standing timber, but just kind of rolled it over. And so it's been changing and evolving throughout the year and rapidly, weekly, I would say.
Yeah, I just feel like it's something man, it's a game changer, and look out for Patrick Walters, man. He's something he's dialed into now. It's going to be tough to beat this guy when that kind of a bite's there.
I hope so. Now that the cat is out of the bag on that one, I think a lot of people are going to be looking for that. And I know for a fact there's a lot of people on Lake Fork right now throwing jerk baits and standing timber. But hey, you got to take it when you can. It was an amazing week. And that's the thing about fishing. It's always evolving. It's always ever changing. So there's always that next pattern, the next piece of technology, the next bait. And so you just kind of got to be learning every single day. You never stop learning, and then just kind of change the pattern, and always got to find the fish.
Well, even though we got to watch it on TV and watch it online and see it, everybody can watch it and they can go out there and fish those trees, but no one really knows what was going on upstairs. No one knows what you were thinking and what you were seeing, and so they can go out and try to fish those fish all they want, but they're not going to catch them the way you did. So in that last day, the big thing was to watch to see if you could get to 100 pounds, and it was tough that last day.
Yes, it was. Trust me, it had me nervous because I wanted to get to 10 pounds at least to make sure I felt like I could win the tournament if I got to 10 pounds. And, I caught like a 1.6 and then another 1.6, and then I ended up catching a 5. And I'm like, okay, these are the size fish I've been seeing. Like, where are they at? And I kept fishing, and it was slow, and it'd be a 2-pounder, and then maybe like another 1-pounder. And at I think it was 1 o'clock, I had 11 pounds still. And I mean, it was like there was oil on the road, and them tires, they were about to slip. I mean, traction control was starting to kick in, and I'm like, just take a deep breath, slow down. I'm gonna run into them. I know that every single day in 8 hours. You had to keep making changes. But the weird thing was the fish were still out there and they were still suspended. But the thing was they would chase the bait way more. Like they would stay in further back. They weren't getting closer. And I couldn't make those fish commit for some reason. And just using electronics and being able to tell that, I was like, you know what? The deep fish aren't biting. It's not happening. You can't force it. And anything in life, if you force it, it's just not going to happen. So you have to naturally let it progress and let it happen. And I said, well, if the deep fish aren't going to happen, I'll change it up. No worries. And at the beginning of the day, I had 25 spectator boats. I mean, there was boats on me all day long. And at 1:30, when I made that last move, I said, you know what, I'm going to go shallow. Not a single boat followed me. I pulled into that pocket and was completely alone because they're like, oh, it's not going to happen. They start doubting you. And that's really what fuels me. And it's like, hey, it's going to happen. You got to have that confidence. And I was like, just take a deep breath, got me some Gatorade. I was like, I'm just going to go fishing. And I put a trolling motor down in that pocket. When I started looking in there, I mean, there was bait, the fish. It was why they were randomly in that one pocket that I decided to pull into. I have no idea. In the last 45 minutes of that day, it was truly magical.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you got that last fish inside the last hour, right?
I caught 4 for sure. I don't know if I caught 5, but I caught 4 fish in the last 45 minutes to cull everything out to get to the Citrus Club. I caught a 3.10, a 4.3, a 6.1, and I'm not sure what the other one was, but it was true. I mean, it got me I went from 11 pounds to 22 pounds in about 45 minutes.
It was a lot of fun to watch, Patrick. You get a chance to get some rest now. Do you do some hunting? What do you do now?
Well, truly, yeah. Now it's definitely time to get some rest. I told Dad and my wife after that tournament, it was such an adrenaline high and then an adrenaline dump after every single day because it was just I mean, my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't even tie my bait. I mean, usually I could tie a bait in like 15 seconds. It was taking me like 3 minutes because, I mean, I was like, I just catch like a 6-pounder and I'm like, oh, it didn't even feel real. And so I was like, I'm going to have to sleep for an entire week. But when you got 400 and something people to get back to, I've been doing podcasts all week trying to stay busy. I was actually pulling the wrap off of the boat earlier, selling the boat, selling the truck, selling the camper. We got some stuff to move. So it's been busy and it never stops. The feet hit the ground and we kept rolling.
So what will the next event be for you? Was that the Classic or is there something before the Classic?
No, this season is actually not done yet. We have one more Eastern Open, and it's the first weekend in December, and it's on Lay Lake in Alabama. I'm excited about that. December is actually my favorite month to fish for bass fishing. I love it because nobody's ever fishing really. You know, they bite jigs, they bite crankbaits, spinnerbaits, doesn't matter. You know, they eat the fun stuff to catch them on. And so I'm excited about that one. And then after that, I think the first tournament would be the next Elite, and that's the beginning of February.
Okay. Well, Patrick, I know you got a lot of things to do today. I know you got more interviews after this. Thanks for your time today. Congratulations. You're a great winner, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, thank you guys. I greatly appreciate you for having me.
Tired of the same old, same old? Check out the new Affinity Rod Series from Top Tier Tackle. Soft touch EVA split grip, custom 30-ton nano blank, C-grade reel seat, top performance stainless steel, tangle-free guides, ultra lightweight, superior impact and fracture resistant, and a limited 3-year warranty. Visit their website at www.t3rods.com.